Are you ready to eliminate your credit card processing fees? Visit www.pairpayments.com and use code JAKE for a $250 Visa gift card when you join today.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Under Pressure podcast, where we're going to talk about all things business and under pressure. So glad that we can be with you today. Today, I have Riley with me. Riley, I am not going to try to pronounce your last name, so I want you to pronounce that for everyone if you don't mind.
Yeah, my last name is Pototschnik, and you're not the only one. Most people just don't even try it because it's a tough one to get right.
Yeah, I meant to practice that and I wanted to get it right, and I was like, I'm going to butcher this thing, and I want people to hear it from you, so they know exactly. So Pototschnik.
Pototschnik. Yep, there you go.
Pototschnik, I got it. Riley, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so glad to have you, and I know the audience is going to be pumped today. We're going to be talking, getting to know Riley and what he's doing. He's doing some great things at such a young age out there. So Riley, you're only 21 years old, man. That's awesome. Started your first business at age 16. That's fantastic. I wish I'd had like the forethought to do that as a young man, and through some of the challenges I had, but so excited that you were able to get that done. So Riley, after his first year in high school, his freshman year in high school, he left this traditional school and said, hey man, I'm going to go and kind of entirely, you crafted your own custom curriculum online so that you could focus more on your skills, right? To what you needed in order to build successful companies, which is that, man, that's really, that's a lot of wisdom for that age. Cause traditional school, it's great and all, but they're just so focused on they've got to pass a test. They got to pass a test. That seems to be their main focus. So congratulations. By 20, you had a successful business optimizing websites and marketing strategy for a bunch of home service companies, all shapes and sizes. And today you are the founder of a new product called EveryChat. That's one word, EveryChat. Everyone pay attention to this because you're going to look this up. So it's going to help home service businesses streamline the way they communicate and leads and customers. So Riley, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of these home service businesses, a lot of service-based businesses that tune into this podcast. And I'm really excited to kind of bring some of this information that you have. I heard you speak. So for those of you that don't know, I met Riley. We were in New Orleans at QDS conference. It was a great time. I heard Riley speak there. I spoke there. It was very informative. I was in the back taking notes. I've still got the notes over here. Really, well, there was a lot of things he was speaking to that made sense to me because I'm in growth for BergFlow. So what he was talking about was like really, like I was like, man, he's on it here because there's so many things that aren't working anymore. So pumped to have Riley on to talk to you guys about kind of what he and EveryChat is offering to your service companies out there. So Riley, first, let's dive in, man. Let's talk about you for a minute. I know I spoke a little bit, but tell me more. Where'd you grow up? What did it look like, and how did that develop for you?
Yeah, so I have been in Texas all my life, just about 30 minutes or so from Dallas, in a city called Plano, big city. That's where I grew up most of my life. And then around 15 or 16, I moved to a city called Allen. We don't necessarily need to talk about each individual city that I've been in, but I'm still pretty much in the rough, the same location. So yeah, I grew up in Texas, plan to stay in Texas pretty much all of my life. I love it here. Love the mountains. So I'll take trips to the mountains every once in a while. But As far as what it looked like, I was very fortunate to grow up in we'll say an upper class family. My dad has been in the home service industry all of his life. He has a lawn care company called City Turf. He previously was part of a company called Service Autopilot. So I've kind of been in the home service industry in kind of had my toe in it for many, or pretty much all of my life. Whether I wasn't always deeply into it, regardless, I always kind of overheard things. I was privy to some of the conversations that were going on, and then around we'll say 16, I started my first business that was just going around the neighborhood cleaning cars, doing car washing. That's It wasn't a super serious business. I probably cleaned 20 cars or so, and then I was kind of burnt out from the business. I mean, each car probably took me about 6 hours to wash, and I was only making $100 per car. So the hourly rate for me wasn't exactly working out very well, but that's how I got started. It probably lasted about a year. Um, Again, wasn't super serious, but that was a little bit of how I got started and how I grew up. I had one job. I played soccer for 13 years of my life. Up until around age 13 or 14, I got started very young. So I started a job with a kind of a freelance refereeing company where I would go be a sideline ref for some soccer tournaments. Didn't love that. I didn't love the set schedule, but so yeah, I've kind of dabbled in some things, but yeah, car washing is how I got started. Dabbled with going to get hired for a job. Didn't really love that, and that's kind of how I found that maybe it's worth starting my own thing and taking my own path.
That's cool. That's cool. And then I guess growing up, like you said, your family has had businesses and
Mhm.
in the business, home service business, stuff like that, which is really, really great that you had that, that viewpoint
Mhm.
of being able to kind of look into to some of that as it's going on, which really, I have no doubt, helped you develop what you're doing now, which we're going to get into in a minute. But uh, what would you say? Like, why be an entrepreneur? What really made you want to? I mean, I know your family was in it, and so
Mhm.
I'm sure that was an influence. But what really made you want to do it? There's a lot of guys who go out and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars for other companies
Mhm.
working for them. Why do it yourself?
Yeah, and it was the reason why I chose to go down this path was, and from an early age, it wasn't something I was like set on. It wasn't like I'm going to go out and start my own business and kind of do my own thing. It kind of happened naturally in many ways. So when I was still in high school, I started dabbling in programming. I started learning how to code, and that I eventually discovered that I really enjoyed doing that. So naturally, it progressed into me discovering that I love building things. And then I realized that I could go start my own business. I had already started my own cleaning, my little car washing business on the side, but it hadn't really connected with me that I could do something on my own long term. So around when I was learning to program, I realized I loved building things. I loved kind of the ability where I could just get up in the morning and kind of just start doing my own thing. I had kind of a schedule laid out for what I needed to do. And I kind of had a vision for what I wanted to build. So I could just get up, start coding and build a product that I was interested in. So that's kind of how it played out. I started programming. I started building a custom little project early on that I tried to make it a business. It didn't really become anything. In all honesty, it was a little bit of a knockoff from Calendly, the scheduling software. I was just trying to see what I could do here, but really, it just the idea of starting my own thing came from the flexibility of being able to go out and build a product that I am interested in, rather than going to join a company and maybe get stuck in the vision that they are portraying or that they're trying to communicate inside of their office. So it really came from me having a big interest in building things that I found a lot of value in, found a lot of interest in, and then I could kind of craft that vision based on what I wanted to see it do in the future. Now it's still me. I don't have any employees. I'd love to. I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting to that point where it's probably time to partner with some people. But yeah, a lot of this vision, or a lot of the inspiration for starting a business, just came from me programming and realizing I want to build something that I love, rather than getting stuck in a step-by-step process for what I need to do for the day for some other company.
Yes. Nice. No, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny. You talked about this, these businesses
Mhm.
starting early on. So I kind of did the same thing. Mine was, I went around and it was scraping window sills and repainting them and doing all these types of things. And then later, really not too terribly long ago, I actually had a t-shirt, hats, hoodies. I had a business, and it was also like some, um, I did some personal training stuff
Mhm.
on it, but it was called Physical Demand. So I've had a couple businesses here and there, and I've always been that kind of that entrepreneurial mind that's been dormant, that keeps wanting to knock its way out. And
Mhm.
so I'm always curious about why people do that, and I've interviewed so many people who maybe they've been in the field in this area that they eventually go into and open a business, and they just have this urge. It's this, it's just wants to come out. They
Mhm.
want to go out and create and build something, like you
Mhm.
said, building something for themselves, and having that mindset, and that I guess the satisfaction of being able to do that for themselves, rather than doing it for someone else. And like you
Mhm.
say, getting stuck in their vision and rut. So that's cool hearing you talk about that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I never, I had one experience going to join that refereeing job, but from there, after that, I didn't love doing that. And part of it was probably it just wasn't the job that I was super interested in. It was more of a way just to make some money. But after that, I didn't feel a real urge to go out and search for another job like that. And I think it was mainly just because I discovered that if I was trapped in a job that I didn't love, it was going to be kind of a disaster. It was going to be it would not be a fun time, just to put it simply. So that was kind of the idea, or where the idea of starting my own thing came from. Go find what I love doing and build something in that space. And that's how EveryChat came. That's where the idea from EveryChat came, just meeting some awesome people out doing my website stuff. And then it just evolved into an idea that has grown and kind of blossomed into what it is today. And the core of it is I love doing it. So I'm able to spend 8-9 hours a day working on this thing, and I don't necessarily feel like it's work. I mean, of course, there's
yeah,
tough parts of the business I am learning pretty much throughout this entire experience, but I enjoy doing it, and that's why I can get up in the morning and just keep plugging along with it.
that's important too. Just enjoying part of what you're doing, and
Mhm.
and although everyone says, well, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. Sometimes what we love is still hard work. It doesn't make it any less difficult or busy or hard. But you're right, man. If it's something you really get some fulfillment out of, then you can look back and say, "Man, I created this. This is something
Mhm.
that I did." So that's awesome. Let's dive into this every chat business that you've got, because I know I'm super interested in it. I've gone online, I've taken a look. Obviously, I heard you speak, and so for all of you guys out there listening, um, I'm going to let him really talk about this. But if you're in growth and you're going to hear these phrases about leads and making connections and all of these things in order to obviously obtain business. So part of what I'm in growth. And I know for me, I'll tell you right now, Riley, I have to cold call prospects, and I don't know if you've ever done that.
Once. Didn't like it at all.
It's difficult, and what makes it difficult is things have changed quite a bit, right? And so I've really been having, because I didn't come from this. Obviously, I came from law enforcement, and so now I'm really having to dive in and learn a lot about the marketing. How do I get leads? How do I take? Because I even had to actually go and look up, like, what is a lead versus a prospect. And I just thought, like everyone out there, if I got a phone number and an email and a name and a company, that they were a lead. Well, that's just a prospect. If they don't know anything about your company, they're just a prospect. They're not even a lead yet. So I had to learn all this, but that calling nowadays has changed so much. I cannot get people on the phone. People do not want to answer the phone. They are simply not interested. And it's this, there's this weird thing around, like, being a telemarketer, and everyone just hates your guts and all of this. So, but just because of technology too, I think we've really all kind of evolved to where, we prefer the emails, we prefer texting. We're constantly moving at this faster pace with technology and just in life in general nowadays, that it's difficult to keep up with all of that. But people just don't want to be on the phone having a conversation. So let's get into this EveryChat. Tell us about it. Tell us what EveryChat is.
Yeah. So EveryChat is, in very basic terms, what I call an all-in-one business, an all-in-one inbox for a business. So the idea came from, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people in the home service industry. I've grown up in a family who is in the home service industry. So I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of people and meet and understand some of the things that they were going through. And in my personal business, this is something that I've experienced, is when you are operating a business and you're running marketing, you're doing advertising, you have to manage several different places to stay up to date with people reaching out to your business. You may have text messages, Facebook messages, emails. You may have messages coming from Yelp, Google My Business, all of these different places. So the idea here with EveryChat is to create one inbox for your most important messages. So your text messages would go into EveryChat, your Facebook messages would go into EveryChat, your emails would end up in this one place where you or your team can manage all of the incoming messages from leads or customers. So you can use it to reply back to leads and to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance of closing a deal, rather than maybe missing a message and losing that lead entirely, or responding too late and a competitor reached out to them before you did. But also from a customer support side, you don't want to frustrate your customers with a slow response, or maybe you miss their message entirely. So there's a lot of use cases here, but the idea is to pull all of these different channels into one platform to make it easier for the business. That's where the idea of EveryChat came from. And there's still a lot of growth to be had. There's still plenty of messaging channels that can be added to EveryChat. It's still in the early days. I wanted to focus on the key platforms that everybody uses right now, and then grow based on suggestions. But the idea is to create that one place a business can watch or use to manage the messages coming into their business and keep the finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Okay. So let me get this right. So I've got a business. I've got Facebook. I've got my emails. Maybe I've got 2 or 3 of those, depending on, maybe it's customer service, maybe it's help email, and then maybe Instagram. I don't know, a couple more social media platforms, and where I'm drawing in leads, LinkedIn, whatever it is. So you're basically saying I'm going to be able to link all of those up, and every message is going to go to one place, rather than me having to check the 5 or 6 or 7 different boxes that I'm going to get all those messages in.
So right now, most of what you mentioned would end up this is kind of where it goes to early product, lots of growth, and that's where I'm really hungry for feedback for which channels I add to it next. But the nice thing is for some of those channels that you mentioned that weren't in there, say for Instagram, most of these platforms allow you to enable email notifications, and you can still get receive messages coming from the platforms that aren't already directly integrated with EveryChat. They'll still show up in your email inbox, which you can connect to EveryChat. So there are workarounds for the channels that aren't already there, but that's the idea. Over time, we will be working with maybe 10 different products, Instagram or maybe WhatsApp, if that's something people use in their business. Or, I mean, Google My Business is a big one that I'd like to add very soon. These are all future things that will be added, but right now the core of it is text, Facebook, email, Gmail or Outlook, and then there's an automated website chat feature in the software where you don't have to kind of sit behind your computer and respond to messages. It'll respond to your website leads or whoever's reaching out to you automatically.
Nice. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, is this something you have to sit and stare at? And is how much is AI involved in the response as these messages come in with on this side of it? Is it pretty responsive through the AI?
So AI is a growing part of it. And this, you heard my presentation in New Orleans. And for those that didn't have the chance to listen to it or weren't in New Orleans, responding quickly is a big part of sales, is a big part of nurturing leads and keeping customers happy. If they have to wait for you to get back to them, for the sales process, it slows the process down. You open the door up for competitors to slip in because, when they're reaching out to you to get a quote, they're probably reaching out to 3 or 4 other companies as well. So it's very much you're battling for their attention here. So automation is a big part of EveryChat. And that's where AI is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the product where, when somebody reaches out to your business for the first time, EveryChat can get back to them and at least kick the process off to get some basic information from them to give you a little bit more time to get back to them with a human response and progress that conversation into a phone call or whatever the call to action is that you need. EveryChat can step in and get that conversation rolling until you, the human, can get involved and start responding or replying to that lead and continue the conversation forward. So AI is a huge part of it. One of the ideas in EveryChat, and this is still a discussion, it's not being built yet, but it's this idea of, is AI in a point where businesses would feel comfortable with an AI automatically replying? So if I was just to take ChatGPT, for those who are familiar with it, where it can generate a response and it can reply, it basically gives you a pretty human sounding reply to some kind of prompt that you give it. One of the questions I'm really playing with right now is ChatGPT in a point where a business would feel comfortable with ChatGPT sending an automatically generated reply to a customer or a lead? And, it's tough because ChatGPT still gets things wrong. It still can, if it goes off the rails, it can still kind of nuke the reputation of your business if it goes completely off path. So, I think the nearest path forward for many of these businesses isn't necessarily where ChatGPT steps in and just guides the conversation in whichever direction. It's more of like a built-in assistant for businesses where inside the dashboard, let's say somebody's using EveryChat, ChatGPT would generate a response and say, hey, this is the recommended or suggested response. And a business just has to click copy and paste into the message and press send, because the business would still have control over what it's sending to their leads, their customers, and they can make sure that it's not going to send just this out of left field message that starts diminishing the reputation of their business. So there's all, without going too off the rails here, there's all kinds of directions that ChatGPT can go and all kinds of ideas that you can do for it. But these are just some of the things that I'm thinking about as EveryChat grows and figuring out the next best path forward for how it can be implemented. Hopefully, nice. I didn't go too out of left field with that response.
No, that's good. That's what people, because ChatGPT is a real conversation, and it's a very useful tool. I've used it to help create some email content. I've used it, and it's everything has to be modified a little bit. There's always like personal touch that has to be added in there. But yeah, I think it is a very useful tool. But you're right. I mean, there's the overuse of it and how comfortable people are. I still think there's a human element to all of our marketing and stuff that has to be there. Everything can't be automated constantly, or can it? And at what point are we moving toward that? And do people actually care anymore? I know for me, when I do get the opportunity to actually have a conversation with people on the phone or over Zoom, it's refreshing. It's great to have that interaction. And I think all of us deep down, we want that to an extent. We just don't want it overly used. We do want the quick, get it done, give me the information and let's move on. And it, and you're right about the response times. I know I really want to respond the moment something comes in for us. I want to respond to it. And it's not just like, because I'm so like, oh, I've got to get this customer. It's mainly because I know that if they've taken the time to reach out to me, that took some thought, and that probably took a little bit of their own investigation, as far as like looking into research into the company, why they need it. And if they're needing it and they're reaching out, then they probably need it pretty quick. So the faster I can respond, to me, it's really just about, I'm not going to ignore the needs of this person. And I want to at least begin that process. So having something that will respond quickly, even if I'm busy and automated, is something that, can really work out not only for them, but in the favor of your company.
For sure. Yeah. It's going above and beyond and not forcing people to wait for what they need to do next. And, some of this, when it comes to, our inner need to reply quickly to somebody, and, also the person who is reaching out to the business, their expectation that they're going to get a response quickly. A lot of this comes from just how we've been trained from personal interactions. When we're on our phone or on Facebook or, email, we're a little more likely to, or have a little bit more of an expectation that we may be waiting for a response. But specifically on Facebook and text, we've almost been trained to expect a message within 5 minutes or so, because we're texting with friends and family. We're kind of hanging out with certain people. And, most of the time, just the way it's worked out, those people will get back to us pretty quick. They will kind of set things down and reply to that message. And then as we start getting, as business owners, we start adopting tools like Facebook or text messaging into our marketing or sales process, those same expectations carry over. And that's where automation can be incredibly valuable. You, the business owner, don't have to do what you may do with friends and family, is set everything down that you were doing, pick up your phone and reply. EveryChat would essentially do that for you. It would send that first reply, let them know that you've received their message, and then you'll get back to them as soon as that you can. And then that just buys you some more time to finish what you're doing. Maybe your team is getting off the phone with somebody that they've been talking to already, and then they can shift their attention to that new person. So automation is very important there to still cater to the people who are reaching out to you and kind of what their expectations are in terms of response time. But still, you, the business, don't have to completely drop everything that you're doing and change the way you reply or how fast you reply to messages in your business.
Nice. So let's say, how does, and are you familiar with High Level, for example?
Vaguely. I understand some of what they do. It's still something I'm doing some research on them to see if there's anything where, um, if there's any new feature ideas that can come from it, essentially. But I'm always keeping an eye on some of the businesses in the space.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, like if what would be the difference? Because I know like something like that, and there's a bunch of different platforms out
Mhm.
there that do automated responses
Mhm.
and all of that. And I'm not one who even can begin to tell you all of the different technologies they have out there. What would differentiate like every chat as opposed to like something like High Level or some of these other platforms that
Mhm.
some people are using?
Yeah, so not every chat. Go High Level or High Level, from what I understand, is they are a very in-depth platform. I think, if I understand correctly, they can help you. They kind of bring the Facebook advertising features into it. They have a whole bunch of stuff just beyond messaging, from what I understand. But I also believe they are more geared towards agencies. And correct me if I'm wrong here. But that's just my understanding of the business. So what I am trying to do here, is, every chat is built for the business owner. My current marketing strategy is talking to these business owners and working with them directly to plug it into their business. So I'm not necessarily, the big difference in terms of my strategy is, rather than going after, say, the marketing company who may be serving the home service industry or the home service company, I'm
Mhm.
working with the business directly to help them getting plugged in. So with that, a big part of this is, team features. If a business is going to implement every chat, one of the big things that they need to be able to do is get their team involved in, building features in where it works seamlessly with multiple team members in the business. So if they have a customer support team, one of the features that is in there is, you know you may have different customer service, uh, we'll say, reps that specialize in different things. You may have some that
Yeah.
specialize in, just in the lawn care example, fertilization, or some that may specialize in pest control, and they specialize in answering questions regarding that. So what may happen here is, a team member may see a message coming in through every chat that is specific to, we'll say, fertilization, but the pest control guy saw that. So he may need to assign that message to the fertilization guy and have him or whoever's in the business reply to that. So the idea here is, not everybody is going to be the perfect person to reply to a message coming into the business. So having these team features where you can assign a message to somebody who is better suited or has a better answer for the question coming in, that's kind of where every chat is trying to focus on, how do we make it easier to implement in the business and reduce the friction and kind of the co-op features in the business, so that things run smoothly. That's kind of the big point, and there's, still a lot of growth to be had in every chat. That's something I try and highlight. We're focusing on the core features, and then, the people who are using every chat, I'm really hungry for the feedback. And, this is where a small business can be scrappy in many ways. The early businesses take in that feedback and they run with it. The users, the customers, are often the people who shape the direction of early products. Say, for example, like every chat, where, in these early days, we kind of set the core features, and then we grow based on what our customers need. So if they need, for automation, if they need a smarter automation system, if it fits in line with the vision, which that would, we would grow in that direction. We would build smarter automation features. Or if they need Google My Business, that would be something that we would build. So, in the early days, this is something I talk about, or I mention when a lot of people ask what kind of differentiates you, is right now in the early days, you can almost help us differentiate ourselves from the
Yeah.
other companies. The feedback that you give us, this is something that I'm trying to take in, um, very heavily. I'm trying to listen to the people who use it, because they're going to guide the path forward for every
Yes.
chat.
That's cool. That's cool. And you know, it's such a, like I said earlier, it's such a necessary, I don't know. I feel like especially some of these businesses who are really trying to, you know, forge their way into
Mhm.
the market and take advantage of every single possible lead that's coming in. Um, I feel like something like this would really be a useful tool for these companies. It's difficult to keep track of all of that, and you definitely don't want to lose sight of any of it. So, and then helping you, I feel like these guys out there can help you develop this thing into
Mhm.
something just amazing that's going to really benefit them to the maximum. But and all these businesses are, although 20% of service businesses may differentiate, 80% of it is it looks the same.
Mhm.
And so if you can really have these companies like telling you, hey, this is really what's working, this is not what's working, this can really help us, this thing could really mold itself with your help into something phenomenal. So that's exciting for you, and that's exciting for all these businesses out here that are, you know, hopefully going to be jumping in and using EveryChat very quickly. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
How,
yeah, these sorry to cut you off there. I just
oh
want to point
no.
these early days, these are the really fun parts of starting a business because you get to work so closely with the people using it. As products grow bigger and they become and they're working with thousands of different people, what often happens is, you can't work so closely with the people. You try and stay as close to them as possible, but it just gets tough as things grow and become much larger and more and more people are requiring your time. So these are the really fun parts when it comes to I love building products. I love this is the phase that I really enjoy, and I'm finally getting into the phase of marketing it now and trying to talk to people about it now that the product's pretty much ready to go. So this is the fun part where I get to talk and talk to and meet a lot of new people, and as we've already talked about, this is where the vision really starts to blossom into something people really get excited about, from feedback, from comments, from suggestions. This is where things really start to get exciting.
That's cool. That's exciting. We're excited for you, and excited to watch this thing develop. It's you're right. It is very exciting. A lot of people, a lot of businesses kind of forget that that's really how all these service businesses and most businesses do develop. Is you start with this idea, and maybe, for example, like you guys that were in the lawn business, okay, I'm going to mow yards. And then you mow your first 10, 15, 20 yards, and you realize that they're like, hey, I've got this problem over here. Do you know what to do there? Well, you're not going to say, no, I don't, if it's an opportunity to make money, or if it's an opportunity to serve your client, you're like, oh, let me go and figure this out. So they go over and you figure out how to, overseed, or you figure out how much weed eating they need,
Mhm.
and things develop. And then as these businesses grow, they actually see the needs of their clients,
Mhm.
and they can come in and action and service and help their client. That's the whole purpose behind all of what we're doing, is
For sure.
trying to, and even you're starting this thing, um, and your whole purpose here, from what I can gather, is to very specifically help these clients that are coming on board to maximize their efficiency in dealing with their leads that are coming in and stuff.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, just just alone managing all of these different platforms. I mean, that alone requires time from team members within the business. If it's just a owner operator business, it requires their time, and they already have like 15 different hats that they wear inside the business. So the idea is to make things easier for them without them having to bounce back and forth from different products just to stay in touch with the people reaching out to their business. I mean, you're pretty much on the nose with that description. The idea is to simplify the way that they operate and streamline processes.
so in this, how much of it do you come in and help navigate? If someone were to come on today and they're jumping in like, hey, this is something I really need, I can use in my business. How much are you helping them navigate? How much of it do you do for the clients, and how much of it do you help them navigate? And what do you think the time frame is on from day one of me signing up to day whatever that looks like, to where I'm pretty comfortable with this system?
Yeah. So, right now, again, early days, the nice thing about a young product is I am very involved in when somebody signs up. Of course, I'm doing some more of this today. I'm recording videos and tutorials to help people get started on their own. But when somebody signs up, often what I'm doing is I'm reaching out to them to set up a setup call where we can talk about what kind of things that they need help with, what are some of their goals in the product. And then from there, it's very much a strategy call. We're working together I'll point them in the right direction. I'll help guide them to see how they can set this thing up to accomplish one of the goals that they were looking to achieve. I am very involved in the process right now. I'm working on ways to help automate that, where they still get all of the value from a setup call or me working with them. It's just now they can kind of do it on their own, and they have resources and things when they need it. So it's almost like a walkthrough guide in the product. But right now, I hop on the phone with everybody who signs up. We talk about what they need. I help point the way. And generally I try and avoid doing things for them, because they're not going to learn the product that way. I'm not always going to be there to help them send out a message, or to help them reply to somebody, or to help figure out how to tag a contact in the system. So the goal here is I'm going to show you how to do it so that you know how to do it, and that way you can use the product the most effective way possible, because you've been the one who is learning it rather than me behind the scenes doing it all for you. You understand how things work, so you can get the most out of the product. So that's kind of the idea there. In terms of setup, signing up, you can get that done within 15 minutes. From a setup perspective, it of course varies. If you're a little bit more technical, you can just jump in there, start poking around, and you can figure things out very quickly. I've tried, and I've worked with many different software products. I've used software products myself in many different ways. So, and I've seen products that are very difficult to set up. So I've tried to avoid that. And the nice thing is when we're on a phone call, I can kind of point you in the right direction. But I've tried to set up EveryChat in a way where really the main setup that you're doing is just connecting the channels that you use, say, for example, email or your Facebook Messenger page. Really, that's the main setup. And then messages automatically just start showing up in your inbox. So you're pretty much ready to go after you connect things. Of course, there's other features that you can do, or other features that you can use. But you mean the main critical stuff that you need to really get EveryChat off the ground, that stuff can be done in an hour or so, and maybe less. So yeah, so I try and keep it easy, but I'm here if you ever have questions. So yeah, again, the nice thing about a young product.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Riley, so I always like to do a couple of things here on the show. Tell me, like, especially like, you're young, which is fantastic. This is kind of getting off the ground, and there's a lot of listeners that are kind of in your situation. Maybe not as young, maybe some of them are, but they're really kicking things off. If you had to suggest like one should do thing, like you really need to get this done as early as possible in this entrepreneurial exploration and development, what would that one should do that you would suggest?
And this is a very basic suggestion, but I think it's important to a lot of people just getting started. And that is to just get started. If anybody's familiar with Colby, basically I guess in very basic terms, it's almost a personality test. It tells you a bit of who you are and how you operate. I am high on fact finder, and that means I like to do a lot of research before I get into things. So I have fallen into this trap myself where, especially because EveryChat is is still a new business to me. I'm learning a lot. So in the early days of building the product and, trying to get it off the ground, it's very easy for me to get stuck in this researching loop of how do I do something? How do I do this? How do I do that? And never actually start working on launching the product. So for businesses who are or for people who are just trying to start a business, it's easy for us to feel uncomfortable starting the business and get stuck in this process of researching how you do certain things and never actually get started. So, to go along with this, experimenting, trying new things, just being okay if something breaks, that's critical to starting a new business because you're never going to get things perfect. It's always there will always be a new challenge. And even if you spent a month researching things about the business that you are hoping to get started, day one, you will find a challenge that kind of breaks that whole loop of you doing all of this research. You'll find a challenge that, somehow eluded you in that month of research that you are doing. So don't worry about finding all of the information ahead of time. It's good to have at least some understanding of what you're about to get into, but don't take too much time. Just get started. Be okay if something breaks. And, that's the best opportunity that you're going to get to learn the business and really start honing your skills that will help, grow your business for many, many years to come. So, just getting started is the thing that I would say to someone who's young, who may just be starting a business, regardless of their age, just start the business and start learning. That's the best way to do it.
That's that's some really great advice. And I tell you, I'm like you, I will research something to death.
Mm-hmm.
And then I end up talking myself out of taking some step just because I start analyzing all the stuff that I'm researching. So that is, that's, I haven't gotten that feedback from anyone yet on the show. So thank you for that, because people need to hear that. Just freaking do it. Just
For
do
sure.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Get your basic info and go and do it. So what about like an avoid, something that they should avoid as early as possible?
Again, something very simple, but again, resonates with me is, not trying to be too perfect. And not getting too focused on perfection. And, this works very much hand in hand with what we had just talked about. If anybody's familiar with the 80-20 principle, it's that 20% of the work that you do will result in 80% of the results, or something along those lines. So the idea of perfection, you reach this point where you're not actually attaining the results that you're not attaining comparable results to the work that you're investing into what you're doing here. So, most of what you do in a business is primarily focused on you getting the core things right, getting the things that will make the most impact in your business, and then you can worry about perfecting things later. If you spend too much time perfecting things in the early days, the business isn't going to move very fast. So you're going to get bogged down with all of these little things that you have to just get perfect first before I launch it. And what ends up happening is all of that work that you put into perfecting whatever you're doing doesn't actually result in the results that it may have been or it doesn't necessarily result in the results that you should be getting for perfecting that, if that makes sense. So I would just say, get the core things right, understand the core things, focus on the most important things, and just keep moving. And this is where any business relies on feedback. A home service business looks for reviews to see how things are going. So this goes back to just get started and let the people around your business kind of guide you forward, rather than you trying to perfect everything kind of in your own enclosed silo of you giving yourself feedback. Let other people give you feedback, because they're going to give you the best steps forward in terms of becoming successful in doing the things that people actually appreciate. Without being too much of a loop here, if you perfect certain things, it may end up turning out that the things that you were perfecting were the things that people didn't care about. So again, that goes back to feedback. Feedback is critical for any business. So, get started, don't worry about perfecting things. Be okay if it breaks, and then listen to that feedback, because that's the most important stuff. That's the most important stuff that you can get in a business.
Awesome. Great advice again. Yeah. Avoid that perfection. Another thing that I'm guilty of, trying to make everything perfect. And, we're going to stub our toes, and
Yep.
we're going to fall flat sometimes, and we just got to get up and keep moving, and learn from that. So that's awesome. Riley, if somebody out here listening wants to check out EveryChat, you got to tell them where to go. Give us some info, man. Where are these guys going to go and check out your stuff, and so that they can get signed up?
Yep. So it's easy. You can just go to everychat.com. That's my website. That is spelled exactly how it sounds: EveryChat.com. That's the website. You can go check it out there. And then, I post some content every once in a while, and that would be on my personal Facebook page. That's where I do most of my posting. So that's my last name's fairly difficult to spell, but Riley Pototschnik. It may be on the screen here. I hope it is, because
it is.
It's a long name to spell out here. So go find me at Riley Pototschnik. I do quite a bit of posting from a marketing perspective and just things that are going on in the business. So if you were interested in seeing what's happening, seeing new things that are going on, that would be the best place to do it. So Riley Pototschnik, my Facebook page, and then everychat.com if you're interested in the product.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys go check it out, everychat.com. Learn a little bit about this SMS marketing and what EveryChat can do for you and your business, helping you with your leads and all this. So don't hesitate. Go. Just be curious. Go check it out. Don't make excuses like everything else. Just go and check it out and see what they can do for you. So, Riley, so glad you could come on today. It was great information. And hey, if you're out there and you're listening, make sure you like, you subscribe, you share it. Tell your friends about it, and tell them to come over and check this out and listen to Riley and this information that he's got, so that everyone can take advantage of what he's offering home service companies out there. So, Riley, any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we covered quite a bit in this interview here. Yeah,
we did. All right. Well, Riley, thanks you again. And in the future, as these things develop, I'd love to have you back on at some point, and we can kind of discuss how things are going from there. Everyone else out there, thank you so much for joining us today, where we were talking about all things business and under pressure. Have a great day.